Hello and welcome to Tête-à-Tête, France 24's flagship interview show. Our guest this week is Mongi Hamdi. He's a former Tunisian foreign minister, former special envoy of the United Nations to Mali. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
I want to begin with a topic that's not been talked about a lot. It's Sudan. It is entering the third year of what is essentially a civil war between two military men, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and General Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemeti. There is no end in sight. What is your assessment of what we're seeing in Sudan?
The war in Sudan between these two belligerents has caused the world's largest crisis that is now. It has caused the death of more than 150,000 people. It has displaced 13 million people. They became refugees. It has caused the famine of 30 million people that they are in need of humanitarian aids. In addition, there is no sight of ending to this war because of interventions from outside that they refuel the war. There are evidence that there are some countries, for example, the Washington Post recently had a report that said that there is a Turkish military company that is providing drones and other military equipment to the Sudanese army since September 2024, and these arms and drones have somehow shifted the balance of power between the rapid forces and the military army, and the military army was able to regain control of Khartoum. The recent allegations of or claims by the military against the United Arab Emirates, which the court has rejected yesterday, was not a surprise to me because there was a report early last week by the experts of the United Nations Security Council, which has said nothing. It was a 48-page report. It has nothing about the intervention of the United Arab Emirates, except to say that the United Arab Emirates actually appraised and appreciated the role of the United Arab Emirates in humanitarian aids and also in participating in the negotiation in Jeddah and Geneva.
Right, but there are claims, nevertheless, that UAE is supporting RSF. I mean, clearly, we have foreign powers intervention. What is stunning, I should say, is the silence of the international community, including the United Nations. I mean, yes, they say it's a terrible crisis, it's a humanitarian catastrophe, but no one seems to be mediating. Some are sending arms, but not mediators. Why?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a kind of what I call shameless indifference by the international community towards what's happening in Sudan. What is needed urgently is to stop this deadly civil war, and it's very simple. I think the United Nations, the African Union, the European Union, the neighboring countries must sit together like what we did in Mali and put tremendous pressure against the two belligerents to sit down and negotiate a peace accord. Why the attempts that have been made in Jeddah and Manama and Bahrain, in Geneva and in the African Union did not reach any agreement. First, because there is no there is no will from the parties to achieve peace, particularly the military, should say, because that's the truth. The military has not participated in many of these negotiations. They send teams, they sit there for 1 or 2 days, and then they pull out for...
but they don't want to negotiate. They want to fight it out.
They want to fight it out. They think that they can win the war, but even if they win the war, they will not win the peace. And this is very important. That's where the role of the United Nations, the African Union, the European Union,
Trump administration,
the Trump administration, particularly. I mean, this is it's essential that the Trump administration gets involved to put pressure on all sides, to force them to sit down, to negotiate a peace accord. Because, why I'm saying this? Because these two military people, they are military, they are not politicians. They don't believe in politics, they believe in power. And the international community must put pressure on them to negotiate a peace accord, because without a peace accord, there will be no peace in
What's
Sudan.
the risk? I mean, we've already seen General Hemeti, after he was pushed out of Khartoum, create a kind of parallel government. Is there a possibility that there could be a partition of Sudan?
Oh, it could be. If the war continues, it could be a partition, but this is not good for Sudan, of course. What is good for Sudan is a long-lasting peace accord that all parties, not only the military and the rapid forces, participate in it, but all components of the Sudanese people should participate, because behind the two belligerents there are different people. For example, the military is backed by the remaining of al-Bashir government. They have many components in the military, and they are the ones who do not want to come to a solution, peaceful
Speaking
solution.
of al-Bashir,
Yes.
those who remember know that it's also an era where lots of Islamist terrorist groups were able to have a foothold in Sudan. Is there a risk that some hardline terrorist groups could take shelter and even base themselves in Sudan?
Absolutely. I mean, there is a big risk that many of the terrorist groups that they were elsewhere in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, they can come to Sudan because it's a refugee for them, because that's what they like. They like instability, they like wars, and it would be a good peace. That's why it's in the interest of the international community to intervene immediately and with strong commitment and strong engagement to stop this war that is going just to devastate more people, mass killings, rapes, violence. It's a real tragedy. It's a real tragedy that must be stopped immediately.
I want to go back 10 years ago when you were in Mali, the UN Special Envoy. We're now seeing, obviously, there have been coups since then, but the war against jihadist groups is continuing. There's also a risk of civil war. You were instrumental in negotiating the Algiers Accord between the rebels and the North, the central government. It has now been pushed aside. There also, is there a risk of a civil war in Mali?
Of course, there is a risk of civil war in Mali, because every 10 years there is an uprising in North Mali, because these people, the Tuareg and the Arabs in North Mali, they have no rights to human rights abuse. In 2015, as I mentioned, we brokered a peace accord between the government of Mali and the armed forces of the North. Unfortunately, and I must say this without anything, is the government is the one who dragged its feet to implement the accord.
The central government.
The central government. Then after the coup in 2020, 2021, the military junta in Mali turned against France and against Algeria, which is a kind of ingratitude in my view, because
this is what the French president said.
No, that is the truth. I mean, France saved Mali from invasion of the armed forces in 2013, and after that the UN came in and we negotiated the accord in Algeria, and Algeria was instrumental in going to this accord. Algeria and France, of course, they are the two most important
But they are now the enemy of the junta, which is allied with Russia,
Absolutely.
the Wagner paramilitary groups.
After this coup d'etat, the dynamics have shifted in Mali, and the junta choose to rely on Russia rather than France and Algeria to continue peace. And they brought Wagner, and there were mass killings, and they occupied Kidal, Timbuktu, Gao. They caused more than 400,000 people fled from their homes. Thousands of people were killed, and it's a massacre that is ongoing until now. And this is it's a real tragedy, a real tragedy.
But do you think that the Tuaregs are now willing to fight the government, and that this makes it even more complicated to really get rid of the jihadist groups?
Right, you see, the Malian government, as the Sudanese army, they use sometimes disinformation campaign. For example, they are alleging that it's true that there are jihadist groups in North Mali, but the real groups, the real armed groups are the CMA and the Arab,
The Tuareg
the
groups.
Tuareg. And these were involved in the peace accord. They were involved, they put aside their military thing, and they were part of the peaceful accord. So they want peace, but they want dignity. They want something for themselves, which the government denies them. So the government of Mali is putting a disinformation campaign as everyone is a terrorist, everyone is a terrorist group. There are terrorist groups, of course, like Adgali and the Ansar Din, but the major forces of North Mali are peaceful people who want just to
Live a normal life. So,
lives.
in a nutshell, do you think Mali is going towards a very, very worsened situation?
Absolutely, because they will never give up the rights for self-determination. And I don't know how long Wagner can stay in Mali, but they are mercenaries and then they will leave one day.
Mongi Hamdi, thank you very much for being our guest. And thank you all for watching this edition of Tête à Tête here on France 24.
Thank you.